The night was cold, and the human traveler walked alone through the wild land. His boots sank into the wet ground as he carried only a small lantern and a bag on his shoulder. He was far from any town, far from any place of safety, and yet he kept moving deeper into the unknown. He had heard stories, whispers about the valley ahead, a place where strange things were buried. Some said treasures could be found there, others said it was cursed, but the man was tired of empty hands and empty days, and so he searched, hoping luck would finally turn his way. When the fog cleared a little, his lantern light fell on something. Half buried in the mud, at first he thought it was just a stone, smooth and round, but as he bent closer, he saw it was no stone at all. It glowed faintly. With soft pale light that pulsed like a heartbeat, the man reached out and touched it. It was warm, alive, and it seemed to hum under his fingers. He pulled it free from the mud and wiped it clean with his sleeve. It was an egg, unlike any bird or beast he had ever seen. Thin lines of silver ran across its shell, and whenever he moved it, the glow grew brighter. A voice inside his head whispered, "Leave it," but another voice, stronger, whispered, "Keep it." And so he hid the strange egg in his bag and carried it with him. He did not know why, but he felt it was meant for him. That night he made a small fire under the roots of an old tree. The wind howled, and the dark forest groaned around him. He placed the egg close to the fire so it would not freeze. Every time he looked at it, the glow seemed stronger. As if it was alive and watching him, he whispered to it, "What are you?" The egg only pulsed gently, as if answering without words. Sleep was difficult that night. He kept waking to strange noises, like claws scratching on stone, like soft cries carried by the wind. But when he checked, it was only the egg glowing. Faintly still, he felt a strange bond with it, as if it was already part of his life. At dawn, the forest came alive with sounds of birds and insects. The man reached for his bag, and his hand froze. The egg was moving, rocking from side to side. He pulled it out quickly, holding it close. The silver lines on its shell burned bright like fire. A crack appeared, then another, and the sound of breaking filled the morning air. The man's heart raced. Something was inside, trying to come out. He wanted to drop it, to run, but he couldn't. His hands held it tight, his eyes refusing to look away. The egg broke open, piece by piece, until a small, wet creature pushed through. It was tiny, fragile, with large, glowing eyes and soft scales. Its wings were too small to lift it, its claws too weak to fight. It cried softly, shivering in the cold morning air. The man stared in silence, not knowing what he had done. This was no ordinary animal, no bird, no lizard, no beast he had ever known. It looked at him, blinking, and for a moment he felt it asking for help. His chest tightened, and before he knew it, he tore a piece of bread from his pack and placed it near the creature. The tiny thing sniffed, then licked it, then ate greedily. The man laughed softly. In disbelief, "Hungry little thing, aren't you?" The creature's glowing eyes never left him. It made a weak sound, a sound that almost felt like trust. For the rest of the day, he carried it with him. Wrapped in his cloak, it clung to him as if he was its parent, its only protector. And though fear still filled his heart, another feeling began to grow: responsibility. By nightfall, the man sat by the fire again, staring at the little creature curled against his chest. He whispered, "You should not exist. Yet here you are, and you are mine now." The forest seemed to watch in silence. He knew the world would not accept this creature. They would call it dangerous, cursed, or worse, but to him, it was not a monster, not yet. It was just a tiny life that had chosen him. And so, on that strange night, the bond began. A human and a fragile alien beast, tied together by fate. Neither of them knew how much blood, danger, and power that bond would bring. Neither of them knew how this single choice would change the future of an entire tribe. The egg had been strange, but what was inside it would be even stranger. The man had raised fire in his hands, though he did not yet understand it. And far away, unseen in the shadows, others had already noticed the glow. Others who would come, searching others who would not allow the beast to grow in human hands. The human only thought he had found an egg, but he had found destiny, and destiny had sharp teeth. Asterisk, the creature was small, weak, and helpless. Yet it clung to the human with surprising trust. It shivered whenever he put it down, its tiny claws scratching to climb back into his hands. The man had raised animals before, dogs, goats, even wild birds he had rescued, but nothing was like this. This was different. This was something that seemed to come from another world. He called it ash, because of the faint smoke-like glow that lingered on its scales when it slept. At first, it could eat nothing but soft bread soaked in water. He tore pieces gently and pushed them near its little mouth. It ate clumsily, but never stopped staring at him with those glowing eyes. It was as if it understood him, as if it recognized his voice. Days turned into weeks, and Ash grew slowly. Its wings stretched a little more each day, its claws sharper, its teeth small. But visible at night, it curled against his chest for warmth, making soft sounds like a purring cat. But sometimes, when the fire was low, its body glowed faintly. Lighting the dark, the man wondered if this glow was a gift or a curse. And he prayed no one else would see it. But the forest was never empty. Hunters from the nearby tribe often passed through, their eyes sharp, their ears trained. More than once, the man heard voices in the distance. Men saying they had seen strange lights between the trees. He held Ash tighter, whispering for silence until the voices were gone. He knew if anyone discovered the creature, they would not understand. They would call it dangerous and kill it. Before it had a chance to live, Ash followed him everywhere, stumbling at first, then walking, then running. It tried to flap its wings, but they were too weak. The man laughed as it fell and tumbled into the grass. Still, Ash never gave up. It always tried again, always looked to him for approval. Sometimes the man caught himself smiling. Something he had not done in many years. It felt almost like having a child he never asked for, but one he could not abandon. One night, when the moon was bright, he was awakened by a strange sound. Ash was standing near the fire, its little body tense, its scales shining in the light. A snake had slithered close, its fangs ready to strike before the man could move. Ash hissed, a sharp, piercing sound. The snake froze as if stunned, then fled into the dark. The man stared at Ash in shock. The creature was still small, yet there was power hidden inside. Power that could grow, power that could destroy. As weeks passed, Ash's appetite grew. Bread was no longer enough. It wanted meat, raw and fresh. The man hunted small animals, rabbits and birds. Ash tore into them with eagerness, and the man realized this creature was no harmless pet. Still, when it finished, it curled back into his lap, licking his hand like a loyal dog. He whispered, "You are both gentle and deadly, aren't you?" And Ash blinked, as if it understood. But not everyone was blind to what was happening. One afternoon, when he went to the river to fetch water, he noticed footprints. They were not his. Not from the forest animals, but human. Someone had been watching, following. The man felt a chill, for if they had seen Ash, everything would change. The tribe nearby had strict laws. They feared strange things. They told stories of beasts that once destroyed villages, of monsters born from cursed eggs. If they knew he was raising one, they would come with spears and fire. They would take Ash away or kill it. The man decided he must keep Ash hidden at all costs, but hiding was not easy. Ash was growing. Its roars louder, its glow brighter. Sometimes it cried when he left, the sound echoing through the trees like thunder. Sometimes it scratched the ground with strength that surprised even him. He realized the world would not allow this bond to last forever. Yet his heart told him he could never let go. One evening, as he fed Ash, he heard something move in the bushes. He drew his knife, ready for a wolf or a thief, but instead a figure stepped out. The princess of the tribe, dressed in silver cloth and beads that glittered in the firelight. Her eyes widened as she saw the glowing creature in his arms. The man froze, his secret no longer safe. Ash growled softly, pressing close against him. The princess whispered, almost in awe, the prophecy. It is true. The man did not understand, but her words filled him with unease. The princess's gaze was not of fear, but of recognition. She looked at Ash as though she had been waiting for this moment her whole life, and in that silence, with the fire between them, the man realized his quiet life with the creature had ended. Others knew now, and nothing would ever be the same. The princess stood silently by the fire, her eyes locked on the glowing creature in the man's arms. The man felt his breath grow heavy, unsure if she would scream for guards or run in fear, but she did neither. Instead, she stepped closer, her voice low, so the stories were true. The human frowned. What stories? The princess's gaze never left Ash, who growled softly, smoke curling from its tiny mouth. The prophecy, she whispered. The one our elders never stopped. Repeating, the one I was raised to fear. The man's grip tightened around the creature. Prophecy. She nodded, her face pale in the firelight. Our people have long spoken of a beast born from the earth. A predator wrapped in light. It was said, whoever tames it will command the fate of the tribe. If raised with love, it will protect. If raised with cruelty, it will destroy. The man's heart pounded, his eyes drifting down to Ash, who looked at him with those innocent glowing eyes. Could this fragile creature truly hold the power to decide the fate of an entire people? He shook his head. It is just a small thing. It eats, it sleeps. It follows me like a child. The princess's lips pressed into a thin line. For now, yes, but soon it will be more, much more. The man thought of the snake, of the roar that shook the trees, of the growing hunger for meat. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps this was no ordinary creature. But his heart refused to see it as anything other than his own, his responsibility. The princess sat by the fire, her long braids shining in the glow. You do not know the danger you carry, she said softly. Our tribe has always feared this beast, but they also wait for it. Some believe it will save us from enemies. Others believe it will destroy us all. Her eyes turned sharp, and now it is here. And it listens only to you. The man shifted uncomfortably. So what would your people do if they knew? Her silence was the only answer he needed. They would not let this creature grow freely. They would chain it, use it, or kill it. He pulled Ash closer, whispering, "They will not take you." The princess noticed the way Ash curled against him. Calm and trusting, her expression softened. It chooses you. That much is clear. Then her voice grew more serious. But understand, the tribe will not allow such a choice to remain private. Soon they will come. And when they do, you must decide where you stand. The man wanted to argue, but he knew she was right. Already there were whispers. Already someone had followed his tracks, and now? The princess herself had seen the truth. The secret was gone, and fate had already begun to move. That night, after the princess left, the man lay awake, staring at the stars through the branches. Ash slept beside him, small but warm, its breathing steady. He thought of the prophecy, of power, of destruction. He did not want destiny. He did not want control over tribes or wars. He only wanted to keep this small life safe. But as dawn broke, he realized the choice was no longer his. Already, the world was watching. Already. The whispers of prophecy had begun to spread, When he walked to the river the next morning, he heard voices. 2 hunters stood nearby. Speaking in hushed tones, they say the princess saw it with her own eyes. One murmured, "The egg has hatched, the beast lives, and the human keeps it." The other spat, "This cannot be allowed." The man's blood ran cold. He stepped back quietly, holding Ash tighter under his cloak. The whispers had grown into rumors, and soon rumors would turn into fear, and fear always turned into violence. That evening, the princess returned, her face grave. "My father, the chief, knows now," she said. "The elders are divided. Some say you must hand it over. Others say you must be killed with it." But one voice rose above the rest, the voice of the High Elder who claims you are the chosen keeper. The man shook his head. "I never asked for this." Her eyes softened. "Chosen or not, the beast has already decided, and that is enough." Ash lifted its head at that moment, staring at the princess with glowing eyes. For a brief moment, the princess reached out her hand. But Ash hissed, curling back into the man's chest. The rejection made her expression tighten, but she hid it quickly. "It does not trust me." "Only you," she said quietly. "That makes you more dangerous than you realize." The man looked down at Ash, who blinked at him with innocent loyalty. Dangerous, perhaps, but also beautiful, alive, and his. He could not abandon it, no matter what prophecy or tribe demanded. That night, the fire crackled as he held Ash close. From the shadows, eyes watched hunters, spies, perhaps even rivals of the tribe. The human knew his time of hiding was ending. The beast was no longer a secret. It was a symbol, a weapon, a prophecy. And all symbols drew blood. The princess's words echoed in his mind. The one who tames the beast will command the fate of the tribe. He did not want command. He did not want fate, but the whispers were spreading, and whispers could turn into war. Ash was no longer tiny. Weeks had passed, and the little creature had grown quickly. Its wings stretched wider now, its claws sharper, its body stronger. What once fit inside the human's arms could now barely be held. It still followed him like a loyal child, but when it moved, the ground seemed to shake beneath its steps. The human knew it was only a matter of time before others would see the truth. This was no pet, no harmless creature. It was becoming something powerful, something dangerous. Yet when Ash looked at him with glowing eyes, filled with trust, he could not see a monster. He saw family. He saw a bond he could not break. One evening, as the fire burned low, a sound echoed from the forest. Drums, steady and deep. The sound of warriors gathering. The man rose, his hand tightening on his knife, though he knew a blade would not be enough. The princess appeared soon after, her face pale, her voice sharp. "They come," she said. "Rival hunters, they heard of the beast. They mean to take it or kill it." Ash lifted its head, growling low, smoke curling from its jaws. The man placed a hand on its neck, whispering, "Stay calm." But the creature's body trembled with tension. Its tail lashing against the ground, the air seemed heavy, as if the forest itself was waiting. Then the warriors burst from the trees, spears in hand, eyes wide with fear and greed. "There it is," one shouted, pointing at Ash, "the prophecy beast." Another cried, "Kill it before it grows stronger." Ash roared, a sound unlike anything the human had ever heard. It shook the trees, sent birds fleeing into the night sky. The warriors froze, fear spreading across their faces. The man tried to step in front of Ash, shouting, "Leave us." But the warriors charged, spears raised. Ash leaped forward, his claws slicing through wood and stone. The spears shattered as if they were twigs. The warriors screamed as the creature's roar thundered again, sending shockwaves through the clearing. The human had never seen such power. Ash's small body had become a predator's frame. muscles rippling, eyes blazing like fire. It struck the ground and the earth cracked. Dust and sparks rising, the warriors stumbled back, some falling to their knees. It is too late. One cried, "The beast has awakened." The man shouted, "Ash, stop." For a heartbeat, the creature froze, its glowing eyes locked on him. Then, slowly, it lowered its head, retreating to his side, smoke still rising from its body. The warriors stared in disbelief. They had seen its rage, its strength, but also its obedience, and they understood what it meant the human truly controlled it. The princess stepped forward, her voice trembling. The prophecy speaks true. Only he can command the predator. The warriors looked between one another, torn between fear and awe. Some dropped their spears and fled, vanishing into the forest. Others stayed, kneeling in fear, whispering prayers under their breath. The human stood silent, his hand resting on Ash's neck. He did not want power. He did not want command. Yet the world was forcing it upon him. The creature he had raised was no longer a secret. It was a storm, and he was the only one holding it back. That night, when the forest grew quiet again, the princess sat across the fire from him. Her eyes glowed in the flickering light, filled with both fear and something else, admiration. "You saw it," she whispered. "The beast obeys you even in fury. It could have killed us all, yet it stopped when you called." The man shook his head, his voice low. "I don't control it. I only care for it. It listens because it trusts me." Not because of any prophecy, the princess frowned. Trust is more powerful than fear, more powerful than chains. And that makes you more dangerous than any weapon. Ash slept nearby, its chest rising and falling. But even in sleep, its claws dug into the earth, its tail twitching the human. Looked at it and felt torn. This was the same creature he had fed with his own hands, the same fragile being that had curled against his chest for warmth. But now it was also a predator that could destroy warriors with ease. How long before the tribe would demand control? How long before they turned against him? As dawn came, smoke rose in the distance from the village fires. The princess warned him, "News will spread. What happened tonight cannot be hidden. My father will summon you, and the elders will decide your fate." The man asked, "And what will they decide?" Her voice faltered. "Some will see you as chosen. Others will see you as a threat." The human stared at the horizon, his hand still resting on Ash. He had not chosen this path, yet it was unfolding before him like a road. He could not leave. Ash was no longer helpless, no longer just a child. The predator had awakened. And with it, so had destiny. The village drums echoed through the valley, calling everyone to gather. Smoke curled from tall fires. Warriors stood with spears in hand, and elders lined the stone circle at the center. The human stood with Ash pressed close against his side. The predator's glowing eyes watched every movement. Tail lashing slowly across the ground, the princess stepped forward, her voice carrying clear and strong. "He has raised the beast. The prophecy has awakened," she said. Her hand pointing to the man, murmurs rippled through the crowd, fear mixing with awe. Some shouted for his death, others cried for him to be honored. No one agreed. But all eyes stayed on him and the creature at his side, the chief, a tall man, with deep scars on his face, stood and raised his hand. "Silence," he commanded. "This matter is no longer rumor. It is before us now, and we must decide." The human felt Ash tense. As if it understood the danger, he whispered softly, calming it, "Stay with me, little one." The predator lowered its head but did not move away. The high elder leaned on his staff, his eyes sharp despite his age. "The prophecy says the one who tames the beast holds the fate of the tribe," he said slowly, "but no prophecy tells Us if that fate will save us or destroy us. He turned to the man. What do you say, human? Why do you keep this predator? The man's voice was steady, though his heart raced. I did not seek prophecy, he said. I found an egg. I cared for it. I raised it when it was helpless. I do not see a monster. I see life. I see family. Gasps rose from the people, some in disbelief, others in quiet wonder. The princess stepped closer, her eyes sharp and searching. You say family, but do you not see what it has become? She demanded. You saw it tear through warriors. You saw the earth crack under its strength. Do you think the tribe can live with such danger? The man's jaw tightened. Yes, it is strong, he answered. Yes, it can kill, but it also listens. It stops when I call. It trusts me, and I trust it. The princess's eyes softened for just a moment, then hardened again. Trust will not calm the fears of my people, she said. They want proof that you are not their enemy. Ash growled low, sensing the tension. The princess froze, then forced herself to step closer until she stood only a breath away from the creature. Her voice trembled, but her words were firm. Then let me test this trust. Let it choose. Let it show us if your bond is real. The man's stomach turned cold. He knew what she was asking. She wanted to reach for Ash, to see if the predator would accept her touch. If Ash attacked, the tribe would call for its death. And his as well. If Ash obeyed, the whispers might turn into respect. The crowd grew silent as the princess extended her hand, Ash's glowing. Eyes followed her, unblinking, its claws digging into the ground. The man whispered, Ash, it's all right. Don't be afraid. The predator growled again, smoke rising from its jaws. The man placed his hand on its neck, steady and calm. She will not hurt us. For a long moment, no one moved. Then, slowly, Ash lowered its head, pressing its snout toward the princess's hand. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the glowing predator allowed her touch. The princess's eyes widened, her fingers trembling as they brushed across its scales. It accepts me, she whispered, almost in disbelief. The human let out the breath he had been holding. Ash licked the princess's hand once, then pulled back and returned to his side. The tribe erupted in shouts, some praising, others crying out in fear. The chief raised his voice. Enough. The beast has shown restraint. The human has shown control. But the question remains, what shall be done with them? The princess turned to face her people, her voice strong. If we kill them, we waste the gift given by fate, she said. If we chain them, we risk breaking the bond that keeps us safe. But if we accept them, we gain strength no enemy can match. Her words struck the air like fire. Some nodded, some argued, but all listened. The human stood silently, his hand resting on Ash. He did not want to be a weapon. He did not want command. But he could see it. Now his bond with Ash was no longer his alone. The tribe saw it too, and they would never let it go. As the gathering ended, the princess walked beside him, her voice low. You must understand, she said. I stood for you tonight. I told them you were not our enemy, but others will still doubt. Some will plot against you, some will try to take the beast, and if they cannot, they will try to kill it. The man's grip on Ash tightened. They will not succeed. The princess's gaze lingered on him, her eyes unreadable. You care for it as family, she said softly. But soon you must decide if you will care for my people the same way. Her words sank deep. The man knew the path ahead would not be simple. Ash had grown from helpless to predator. And now the tribe itself was being forced to choose, but so was he. And the princess's voice still echoed in his mind. Trust will not calm the fears of my people. The days after the council meeting were tense. The human kept to the edge of the village, never letting Ash leave his side. The predator had grown even larger. its wings stretching wide enough to cast long shadows, its claws carving deep marks into the earth whenever it walked. The people stared in silence as he passed, some with awe, others with hatred. Whispers filled the air, whispers of prophecy, whispers of fear. The princess visited often, her words sharp but careful. You saw their faces. She told him one night by the fire, "They will not rest until you prove yourself. Until you prove Ash belongs here, or else they will move." "Against you," the man frowned, his hand resting on Ash's warm scales. "And how do you expect me to prove that?" Her eyes held his, steady and determined, through the trial of loyalty. The words chilled him. He had heard rumors of the trial, and ancient custom meant to test bonds between warrior and beast. It was not meant for him, a foreigner, but the tribe demanded it. If Ash obeyed him in the trial, they would accept him. If Ash failed, both would die. When the sun rose, drums echoed across the valley. The tribe gathered in a great stone arena, the air thick with smoke and dust. The human stood at the center, with Ash beside him, its body tense, its eyes glowing like fire. The princess sat among the elders, her face unreadable, though her clenched fists betrayed her fear. The chief rose and raised his hand. "Today we test the bond," he declared. "The beast must show loyalty. The human must show control. Only then can they remain among us." The crowd roared, some chanting for blood, others praying for peace. The trial began with fire. Torches were thrown into the ring, flames rising around them. Ash growled, wings spreading, but the man placed a hand on its neck, whispering, "Stay, trust me." The creature trembled but did not run, its glowing eyes fixed only on him. The crowd gasped, for no beast had ever resisted the fire before. The second test was hunger. Warriors dragged a bleeding animal into the arena and left it thrashing on the ground. Ash's nostrils flared, its body tensed, and it took a step forward, hunger in its eyes. The man's heart pounded. He knew if Ash attacked, the trial was over. He knelt, looking into its glowing eyes. "No, Ash, not this. Look at me, only me." The predator hesitated, its jaws opening, smoke rising, but then, slowly, it turned away from the prey and pressed its head against his chest. The crowd erupted in shock, some in disbelief, others cheering. The final test was blood. The chief himself stepped into the ring, his spear sharp, his eyes cold. He pointed it at the man. "If the beast obeys you, then let it watch as I strike. Let it stay its claws when I attack you." The man froze, his breath caught in his throat. This was no trial of loyalty, was a trap. It's a chance to kill him while calling it a test. The spear shot forward, cutting across the man's arm. Blood splattered on the sand. Ash roared, wings snapping open, its body ready to strike. The human's voice broke through the chaos, loud and desperate. "Ash, no." The predator froze, trembling with fury, its glowing eyes fixed on the chief. But it did not move. It growled, smoke pouring from its jaws, but it held itself back, its claws buried in the sand instead of the chief's throat. The arena fell silent. The man stood, blood dripping from his arm, and placed both hands on Ash's neck, whispering, "Good, my friend, you did well." The predator calmed, pressing against him with a sound almost like a purr. The crowd erupted, half in awe, half in outrage. Some shouted that the prophecy was fulfilled. Others cried that the tribe was doomed. The high elder raised his staff, his voice echoing, "The beast has passed the trial. The human has passed the trial. Their bond is true, their loyalty unbroken." He looked at the chief with hard eyes. To strike again would be to break our own law. The princess rose, her voice strong. "You all saw it. The beast could have killed, but it chose not to. It obeyed. It trusted. Her gaze swept the crowd. Fierce and proud, you may fear them, but fear will not protect us. Their bond will. The man stood silently, holding Ash close, his blood still dripping into the sand he had not wanted. This trial had not wanted to be tested like a weapon. But now the truth was clear, was not just his. Ash was a symbol, and symbols could not be hidden. That night, the princess came to him in secret. Her voice was low, filled with urgency. You proved your bond, but not all are convinced. There are still those who plot in the shadows who will try to kill you both. The man sighed, stroking Ash's scales. Then let them try. The princess stepped closer, her eyes shining in the firelight. You do not understand, she whispered. Your survival is no longer only yours. If you fall, so does the tribe, and I cannot let that happen. Her words carried both warning and promise. The human realized then that his trial was not over. It had only just begun. The night after the trial. The village was restless. Fires burned high as people whispered in the shadows. Some praised the human, calling him chosen, protector. Oh, the one foretold in the prophecy. Others cursed his name, swearing that the beast was a curse that would one day destroy them all. The man sat by the edge of the forest with Ash curled beside him. The predator had grown massive, its wings folding tightly against its body, its glowing eyes reflecting the flames from the village. Despite its terrifying size, it pressed against him like it had when it was small. Trusting, loyal, unshaken. The man stroked its scales, whispering softly, "They will never understand you like I do." The princess approached quietly. Her steps light on the earth, her face was calm. But her eyes carried the weight of choice. You passed the trial, she said softly. But the elders still argue. The chief still doubts. The people are divided. The man looked up, tired. His arms still bound from the wound of the spear. Then what more do they want from us? He asked bitterly. We bled for them, we proved our bond, and still they cannot see. The princess sat beside him, the firelight dancing on her face. They do not doubt Ash's loyalty to you, she said. They doubt your loyalty to us. The words struck deep, sharper than any spear. The man was silent, his hand frozen on Ash's neck. I never wanted to lead, never wanted power, he said slowly. I only wanted to protect this creature, to give it life. The princess's gaze softened, and yet fate gave you more. The next morning, the council gathered once more. The high elder stood tall, his staff raised. The prophecy is clear, he said. The beast has awakened, and the human has proven his bond. But peace cannot last unless a final step is taken. The bond must be sealed not only with the beast, but with the tribe. The people murmured in confusion. The chief's voice rang out, and how shall this be done? The high elder turned to the princess, then to the man. The prophecy says the beast's keeper must be bound to the blood of the tribe. And there is only one way through the princess. The words struck the crowd like thunder. Gasps, shouts. Arguments rose at once. Some cried in anger, others in joy. The man stood frozen, his eyes locked on the princess. Her face was calm, but her hands trembled at her sides. The chief glared at her. Daughter, do you accept this? Do you bind yourself to an outsider? One who raised a predator that could one day destroy us? The princess stepped forward, her voice steady and clear. I have no choice, she said. The beast chose him. And through him, it has chosen us. If I turn away from our only chance at survival. The man's heart pounded. He wanted to speak, to tell her she owed him nothing. But her eyes silenced him. This was not duty alone. It was decision. It was fate pressing down. On both of them, Ash growled low. as if sensing the storm of emotions. Its glowing eyes watching closely, the princess moved closer to the human. Her voice lowering so only he could hear. "You gave it life when others would have killed it," she whispered, "and now it gives you power. But power means nothing unless you share it with us. So I choose you, not only for the tribe, but for myself." The man felt the weight of her words sink deep. He had begun this journey as a wanderer with nothing, only a lantern and empty hands. Now he stood with a predator at his side and a princess offering her fate. He never sought this path, but it had found him. And there was no turning back. The High Elder raised his staff once more, his voice ringing across the stone circle. Then, "It is decided. The beast has its keeper. The keeper has the tribe. And the tribe has its bond through the princess." The people bowed their heads, some with reverence, some with bitterness. But none could deny the prophecy was fulfilled. That night, the man stood with Ash by the fires. The princess at his side, the people approached slowly, some offering food, others kneeling in respect. Even those who feared now looked at him differently. He was no longer just a stranger, no longer just a wanderer. He was the one who had tamed destiny. As the moon rose high, the princess whispered to him, her voice soft and certain, "You raised a helpless creature into a predator, and in doing so, you forced my hand. But know this, though the tribe believes, I had no choice. I chose you. I chose this." The man looked at her, then at Ash, whose glowing eyes watched them both with quiet understanding. And for the first time, he felt not only the weight of fate, but the strange spark of hope. The bond between man and beast had changed the tribe. But now, with the princess beside him, it would change the future. He had raised a predator, but in the end, it had raised him as well. Not just into a keeper, not just into a leader, but into something greater. And the world would never be the same again.